Okay, so hello and thanks for joining this webinar about NIS2 documentation. Good, so let's wait a minute for everyone to join, and while we are waiting for other people to join, just to ask you a question: where are you actually joining from? So where are you watching from? I'm calling in from Zagreb, Croatia, and I'm interested in where actually are you coming from, just to see how far this webinar can be heard, and which countries and people from which countries are actually interested in this topic. While we are waiting for your feedback, let me just tell you that we will be posting the presentation PDF presentation deck after the webinar, so you will be able to download this PDF presentation deck right after the webinar, and we will also post all the links that I mentioned during the webinar. We will post them actually as I speak during the webinar, but then we will post a summary of all the links also after the webinar. So you'll get all of these, you'll get the access to this presentation deck and to the links also after the webinar. So let's see if there are any people actually. Okay, I see someone from Latvia. Okay, great. So let me see if there is anyone else. Okay, not yet. Okay, never mind. Okay, from Mexico, right? Great. This is great. Since NIS2 is really a European topic, it's interesting to see someone outside of Europe interested in this, which I'm great to see. Okay, Cologne, I assume this is Germany. Great. Okay, so let me start with the main part of the webinar, and then of course we'll go through all the other topics. Through all your messages as well. Good. So let me just go here. Also from Germany. Great. Excellent. So lots of people showing now. Great. So welcome to this webinar, how to use a documentation toolkit to implement NIS2. My name is Dejan Kosutic, and I'm the main ISO 27001 NIS2 and DORA expert at Advisera. Advisera is a company that makes compliance easy to understand and simple to use. This webinar today is streamed through Zoom, also from through LinkedIn live events and through YouTube live. And it will last approximately 35 to 60 minutes. It really depends on the number of questions you will have. And I'll try to make it as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask questions, and I will be glad to answer them. And actually the webinar will be more interesting, the more questions you're sending. Good. Okay, very well. So let me move on to the next slide. Okay, so first actually thought here is that documentation seems to be one of the biggest challenges for NIS2 professionals. And actually let me change my screen and show you one poll that I recently published on LinkedIn. And basically it says, the poll question is, what is your greatest challenge with NIS2 compliance? And, funny enough, it's 54% of people actually responded that the biggest challenge is actually writing all required documents, right? We're implementing new technologies, and training and awareness were equally at 23%. And, this really did surprise me, because I knew that, documentation is usually a challenge, but I didn't think, writing documentation is such a big challenge. Of course, this poll is not, I would say, does not cover all the professionals. It's not, I would say, fully relevant, but still, there's something like 26 votes. It kind of shows, the trend that this documentation really is a challenge for many people who are in charge of NIS2 compliance. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. So basically this webinar today will be about how to speed up writing your NIS2 documentation, and how to make sure that you're not forgetting something. So it's going to be basically about practical approach using this documentation toolkit to really resolve this problem with the documentation. And the webinar today is intended for any professionals that are in charge of NIS2 compliance. So these might be, I don't know, CISOs or some other security officers, or I don't know, IT managers, you know, compliance professionals, consultants. So anyone who is interested really in helping companies and in charge of actually implementing NIS2 in their companies. Good. So basically, one of my main points today is that this kind of documentation toolkit should not be only about documentation. Of course, documentation is very important. There is no doubt. And by the way, when I speak about documentation, I speak about you know, policies, procedures, plans, all kinds of records, these kind of things. But you know, this kind of toolkit should not be only about documentation. It should also be about you know, transferring the know-how to the people who are using this toolkit. It should also be about you know, expert support. It should also be about ease of use of this kind of product. So I would say that you know, handling documentation is not only about documentation. It's also about all the other things that are important to handle documentation in an effective way. And of course, I'll go through this and show you during the webinar today. Good. So let me now go to the agenda. And by the way, let me know through chat which of these topics you find the most interesting. And this will be, you know, this will give me an idea on, you know, where you want me to focus on the most. So as I present these topics, you know, just send me a brief chat message, you know, just for me to get a better feeling of what you're interested in the most, so that I can spend most of the time during the webinar on these very topics. Good. So, of course, first I'll go through a general overview of NIS2. So which companies actually do need to comply, because this is still a big, I would say, unknown. Second thing, what are the 3 key articles within NIS2 that companies need to comply? Because you'll see that there are actually only 3 articles which are relevant for companies. Also, if you can use ISO 27001, the cybersecurity standard for NIS2 compliance. What are the 3 approaches if a company needs to become compliant? So what are basically the 3 strategic options to do this? Then I also show you, of course, the Advisera's NIS2 documentation toolkit, how it works. I'll explain you know, pricing and options for this toolkit. And I'll also explain what are the targeted companies and countries and languages for this NIS2 toolkit. And at the end, we'll also have this Q&A session where you know, I'll go through everything that you ask. And again, don't wait for this Q&A session at the end. If you want to ask anything, let me know, and I'll try to answer this during the presentation. Good. Okay, so I see some inputs. So Gustavo says using ISO 27001 for NIS2. Let me see if there are other suggestions. Okay, so point 4, this would be 3 approaches for NIS2 compliance. Okay, very well. And by the way, I see also some other people from Germany. Okay, so Germany seems to be the most represented country here on this webinar, but I also see some other people from Iran, from Pakistan. Okay, great. So lots of people from many continents. Okay, very well. Now let's go further with my presentation. Now, so the first question is really which companies need to comply with NIS2, and there are 3 criteria, and they are cumulative. So they're, you know, and, right? So first of all, a company needs to be located within European Union, or it needs to operate within European Union. So if you are, let's say, if your headquarters is, let's say, in, I don't know, in Germany, then this is one condition fulfilled. But also, if this is an American company, which is, let's say, based in, I don't know, Delaware, but it has its, let's say, business unit within Europe, then it would also qualify. This would also be one criteria for qualification for NIS2 compliance. Another second criteria here is the size of the company, and it needs to be more than 50 employees and more than 10 million euro in revenue, worldwide revenue. Okay, So if this was a smaller company, let's say, I don't know, 20 employees, but more than 10 million, it still would not qualify. So it needs to be both 50 employees, more than 50 employees, and more than 10 million in revenue to actually qualify. Okay, so this is the second criteria. And the third criteria, the most important criteria, is really that the company belongs to any of the 18 sectors which are specified by NIS2. And now let me switch to another screen where I'll show these 18 sectors. Just give me a second. And by the way, you can see these 18 sectors in this article, which is called "Which Companies Must Comply with NIS2, Essential versus Important Entities." And my colleague will send you now the link to this article, and you can actually see it through the chat window. Now, if you join this webinar through Zoom or through YouTube, you'll be able to click these links and open them directly in your browser. However, if you are joining through LinkedIn, then the clicks are, unfortunately, the LinkedIn doesn't allow us to share clickable links during this live event. So you can actually, the workaround is really that you copy and paste this link into your browser, and you will see this, and you will be able to open this article and any link that we are sending through this chat window in LinkedIn. So again, only for LinkedIn, the best way is really to copy and paste this link URL actually into a browser, and then you will be able to open this link. In any case, again, at the end of the webinar, we'll send all the links and post them on all three of these channels, and you will be able to open them. And then after the webinar is actually completed, you'll be able to open them as clickable links on LinkedIn as well. Anyway, let me go back to the presentation. So, sorry, to the article. So when you scroll down in this article, you will see this list of 18 sectors. So sector 1 is energy. And as you can see, actually there are subsectors. So electricity, cooling, oil, gas, and so on. Second sector is transportation, including air carriers, airport managing bodies, and so on. Then you have banking, financial market infrastructure, health, drinking water, wastewater, digital infrastructure. And by the way, digital infrastructure, there are various types of companies, from internet exchange point providers, DNS service providers, and so on. You have ICT service management, business to business, and these are managed service providers and managed security service providers. Public administration, meaning government bodies, space sector, and then you have also these postal courier services, waste management, manufacturing, distribution of chemicals, production, processing, and distribution of food, manufacturing, digital providers, research. So all of these sectors, these are 18 sectors, and you can see them when you open this link. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. So to summarize, if you actually fulfill all of these three criteria, this means that you have to be compliant with NIS2. And just to clarify another issue, suppliers of companies that are in NIS2 scope do not need to be compliant with NIS2. So if you are, let's say, an IT supplier, if you are smaller, let's say, IT companies, let's say, providing your, I don't know, let's say, software development services to, some of the companies within NIS2 scope, this does not mean that you have to, as a supplier, you do not have to comply with NIS2. Rather, there are some rules within NIS2 on how these companies are treated, but this is not really the topic of this webinar today, so I'm not going to go into much more detail here. Okay, there is a question from Khalil. For an organization in US with a business unit operating in EU, is BU business unit complying with the regulation as a legal entity, or enough? Is it enough, or does group company in US also need to comply? So no, it's only the local business unit which operates within Europe. It needs to actually comply with NIS2, not the mother company in the US. Okay, good. Let me see if there are some other questions here. Okay, I think I've answered all of them. Good. Let's move on further. Good. Now, the second question is, what actually you need to comply with, and this is where there are these three articles within NIS2, and this is Article 20 about governance, 21 cybersecurity risk management measures, and Article 23 reporting obligations. Now, let me again switch to my other screen, and I'll show you how these articles look like. And you'll get now the link to this full text of NIS2 directive. So when you open this link, you will see this full text. And yeah, let's scroll down to Article 20. It's about governance. And here's the text, so that basically member states shall ensure that management bodies approve the risk management measures. Basically, and that there is this requirement around training of all employees, not only of the top management. So basically, this is how this is written. So going for Article 21, here you actually see some requirements related to risk management, compliance with some security standards. But then it goes in more detail, listing all the items that need to be written. So policies on risk analysis and information security, incident handling, business continuity, backup, disaster recovery, crisis management, and so on and so forth. So basically, here you have the list of several requirements that companies need to be compliant with. And then when we go to Article 23, so let's skip this Article 22. You will see the reporting obligations, and here actually it's a pretty lengthy article, and basically it says that if there is this bigger incident, it needs to be reported within 24 hours. So this is basically a notification, and then within 74 hours, you need to actually send. This is early warning within 24 hours, incident notification within 72 hours, and so on and so forth. So basically, you will see that there are several requirements here when it comes to incident reporting. So the point being here is that for incident notifications, the requirements are pretty, I would say, detailed. Whereas if you've seen from these other articles 20 and 21, the requirements are pretty general, so they're not really specific. Basically the reason for this is that NIS2 is, I would say, a baseline, so to say, and this is a directive. And what actually this means is that each EU country, each 27 of these countries from within European Union, have to publish their own laws, cybersecurity laws, using NIS2 as a baseline, right? So when it comes to, let's say, in Article 21, you've probably seen that, the business continuity plans need to be written. It doesn't say how. So each of these 27 countries in Europe can actually write more detailed rules on how to write, business continuity plan. So again, what is written in NIS2 is only a minimum. Okay, I'll come a little bit later on the topic of how is this applied in each country. But for now, I just wanted to show you what exactly is in NIS2 that you have to comply with. Okay, going further with the presentation, the question is really if you can use ISO 27001 for compliance with NIS2. And basically the situation is like this. So as you can see, NIS2 is not specific on how to implement security. It encourages actually the use of in international standards. This is written in the text of NIS2. ISO 27001 is not explicitly mentioned in NIS2. However, ISO 27000 series is mentioned in the preamble of NIS2. Now, this preamble is not, I would say, an official part of NIS2. It's an unofficial part of NIS2, but still it does give some kind of an inclination of actually recognizing ISO 27000 series as as I would say the best international standards for cybersecurity. And of course, out of this series of standards, 27001 is the only certifiable standard, so therefore it's kind of the main standard within the ISO 27000 series. Now, when we go more concretely, you will actually notice that ISO 27001 maps very well with Article 20 governance. So basically, the things that are specified in Article 20 about governing cybersecurity, it maps very, very nicely into 27001. 27001 does provide you with, I would say, lots of guidance, lots of details on, how you can actually govern your cybersecurity. And it also maps very well with Article 21, Cybersecurity Risk Management Measures. As you know, there is this Annex A in 27001, which provides these 93 controls. And of course, there is also ISO 27002 standard, which provides a much more detailed guidelines on how to implement each of these controls. So I would say that 27001 and 27002 are very helpful when it comes to Article 21. There is one, I would say, exception in Article 21, and this is about crisis management. So this is one of the requirements in NIS2. And there is no really a parallel article, or control in 27001. And for that purpose, you can actually use ISO 22301, business continuity standard. It's more specific when it comes to managing crisis and, of course, business continuity. And when it comes to Article 23, reporting obligations, it's not, 27001 is not very useful there because it's not as detailed as NIS2. So in this case, I would say that 27001 does not map very well for Article 23. Okay, so this is in general, let's say, the level of up to, let's say, the level on where you can use actually 27001 for NIS2 compliance. So you can use it for almost the whole 20 and 21, and it cannot really be used for 23. So if you already implemented 27001, you have to pay special attention to crisis management and Article 23 on reporting obligations. This is something that you have to create extra. Okay, there is also one article that can help you regarding mapping 27001 and NIS2, and we'll send you now the link. It's called How to Implement NIS2 Cybersecurity Measures, and this is something that will explain more details about this mapping. And also there is another free material, actually a free download. This is a white paper called Comprehensive Guide to NIS2 Directive. And if you want to get basically all the most important articles that we published on Advisera are related to NIS2, then you can simply download this one PDF document. You will have all of these articles within one document if you prefer to have something locally. Okay, you can see it also now in the chat window. Okay, good. Now let me move forward and basically explain what are the three options that you can use for implementing the NIS2, to comply with NIS2. First of all, you can actually do it completely on your own. If you have in-house experts who know ISO 27001 very well and who are very skilled also at NIS2, then you probably don't need any outside, I would say, help. Then you can use your own internal team actually to comply. The second approach would be to hire a consultant, so someone who is knowledgeable in NIS2, and then that you actually let this person lead you through the project and provide you with all the know-how, all the documentation, so everything that you really need for compliance with NIS2. And the third option is that you actually implement NIS2, so go for this implementation compliance project by yourself, using your own employees, but that you are actually using, let's say, external know-how, external help from, let's say, someone who provides you with documentation and know-how. And basically, what we do in Advisera, we actually help this. Our products and this NIS2 documentation toolkit is helpful for this second option and for the third option. In the second option, we actually provide to consultants the documentation, and also to support them so that they actually support their clients. And of course, we also provide, this toolkit is also, I would say, applicable to the third option, where companies want to do it themselves without any, let's say, consultant. And in this case, we also provide them with the know-how and the documentation that they need to fully comply with this NIS2 directive. Okay, good. Now let me see if there are any other questions. Okay, a comment came: crisis BCM and control effectiveness validation is missing from 27001. So yeah, 27001 is not really geared towards business continuity, and this is something that is more appropriate for let's say 22301, because 22301 is really focused on business continuity. Good. Now let me move on to the next slide. Okay, so basically I'll show you now how this NIS2 toolkit looks like from Advisera. And as you will see, there are 3 key features, but okay, let me show the real thing rather than slides. Okay, so let me go like this. So basically when you open this toolkit, you see actually these folders. And before I actually start explaining these folders, so let me explain you that there are 3 main features of this documentation toolkit. Of course, the first main feature is that it provides all the documents, and I'll show you a couple of documents in a minute. The second feature is that it provides you actually directly the steps that you have to go through to implement the standard, to comply with NIS2. So basically it gives you actually the most optimal steps that you have to go through. And the third one is there is this document wizard, which actually speeds up the implementation or writing of each and every document, and I'll explain you and show you also how this is done. Now, okay, so let me go through these folders and explain you what these are. So basically, these folders again are steps in the project. So you should start with the getting the support of your management, then go writing the project plan, writing some initial training plan, writing the top level policy, and so on and so forth. And basically with the last 16 step, then you can actually, then this means that your project is getting to the end. So this is something that, again, from our experience, are the best steps to go for this kind of a project. Now, when I open any of these folders, you will see all the documents that are within this particular folder, and you will also see relevant clauses from NIS2 and from NIS2. So, for example, management support, you actually have this project loan decision, and it's relevant for the whole NIS2, right? If you go for, let's say, I don't know, risk management methodology, you will see the document here, and you also see here relevant NIS2 articles, but also 27001 clauses, which are also relevant for this very document. So this is, why these folders are useful, because they are steps. Now, when I want to actually open a document or download it, I simply click the name of the document. And then I actually go to this second main feature that I mentioned, and these are the document wizards. Now, document wizards actually speed up writing of these documents because they actually automatically fill out some repetitive things that you have when you write a document. So, for example, in each document you need to define, you need to upload your own logo, your company name. You probably need to, set the approver of the document. You need to, I don't know, specify who is the security officer, and various people within your company. And when you think about it, the things that are repeating the most are these company things and also job titles with certain roles and responsibilities. And this actually wizard, what it does is basically it remembers these job titles, and then as you repeat them throughout the documents, it automatically suggests you these items and therefore actually you can write these documents in a much quicker way. So, for example, for this risk management methodology, as you can see on the front page, I have to define the name of the person to approve the document. It's already filled out here because I filled out some documents previously, and the system already suggested this name because it knows that for some other document I already used this particular name. and also the classification. So I can simply move on, or I can change something like this. Let's say that this is, I don't know, confidential, and I move on. Who is in charge of coordinating risk assessment and treatment? So this is not, this was not written before. So let's say this is a risk officer. Okay. I move on to the next step. Who is in charge of managing security in your company? CISO. As you can see, this is already pre-filled because the system remembered that I used this title before. What is the job title of the sponsor of the NIS2 project? So this is the CTO. Okay, this is fine. What is the job title to approve the document? CTO. And then I click simply download. And you will notice that here in this the document is basically ready within a second when I click it. You will see it opened now. Okay, let me put it here on the screen. And there we go. So it's of course in the Word format. I already uploaded previously some test logo, which is already automatically inserted. And you can see that something that I filled out in the wizard already filled out automatically. So the name of the approver, confidential, if you remember, I changed it from there was something else. And as I go through the document, you will see that it already inserted several things that were filled out through the wizard. So you see the company name is already here. Let me see if there is anything else that was inserted. Okay, here, so the risk process, risk assessment is implemented through a risk assessment table. The risk assessment process is coordinated by risk officer. If you remember, this is exactly the job title that I entered through the wizard. Now, of course, you can change anything here. So basically, if you don't like this, so you can simply delete this and say, okay, it's coordinated by, I don't know, CISO, right? So very easy to edit. You can edit anything and everything in this template. And what you also see are these comments, and these comments actually guide you on what are the options that you can fill out in this document. So basically go through, I would say, 2 steps of adapting and personalizing this document for your company. The first one is, the top level personalization through the wizard, which, kind of suggest you the things that are common for most of the documents, and then you go for the second level of personalization once you download the document and once you start actually adapting it for your, I don't know, for your technology, for your specific roles for this process, these kind of things. Okay, let me know. I can show you some other documents as well. So let me go back to, so this was risk assessment methodology. Let's go back to let's say folder with cybersecurity policies and procedures. As you can see, there are many of them: IT security policy, clear desk, 𝗂𝗲𝗄𝗏 policy, mobile device remote work policy, BYD policy, and so on and so forth. So lots of them. So let me go for, I don't know, security procedures for IT department. Again, I go through this wizard. So again, the name of the person to approve this document is John Smith. As you can see, it remembered that I want the documents to be marked as confidential. Which departments are in charge of IT systems? I don't know. Let me see. This is, I don't know, IT department. I move on, and so on and so forth. I don't have to fill everything out if I don't want to. I simply can skip through, and I simply come to the download. Okay, so here is the document, and again you can see that the full text is here. You see the what is covered in this document, and of course you can then you see all the references here. What is the relevant NIS2 article? What is relevant? What are the relevant controls? And then of course you can adapt this document for your needs. So basically this is how the toolkit works. Okay, so let me see if there are any questions coming in. Yeah, so let me know. I can open and show you some other documents if you want, but in general this is how the toolkit works, and which kind of documents you can find here. In total there are something like 80 or so documents in the toolkit. Good. Now let me Antonino says, do you have an updated policies and procedures for the following the implementation of NIS2 in Italy? Okay, this is actually my next slide, and yeah, let me answer then this when I come to this. In one or two slides, I actually explain how do I this toolkit will be adapted for particular EU countries. Khalil asks, does NIS2 cover product solution related topics such as secure development, access to source code, secure coding, and so on? Yes, so basically all of these topics are covered in these documents. So there is, okay, for secure development, let me see. It should be somewhere here, I think, secure development policy. Yeah, here we go. So basically this is the secure development policy. You mentioned access to source code. This is part of the access control policy. Secure coding, this is also part of secure development policy. So basically all of these things are covered in the documents. Good. Now let me move on then to the next slide. Just give me a second. Okay, so basically what is included actually in this toolkit? First of all, what is included actually is the free updates within 24 months. Why is this important? Because we will also add these add-ons for local cybersecurity regulations that are published by each EU country, including Italy. And they will be actually published in the next 24 months, and any let's say update that we create will be then included in the price of the toolkit that you purchase. You also have included these one-on-one meetings with an expert, so that you know, if anything is not clear, you can then schedule these consultations. Also review of your documents. If you want, we can review any of your documents and send you comments. And we also support you through email. If you have shorter questions, you can send them through email. And of course, you can use this document wizard as much as you want. So the point here is we are not providing only the documents, we are providing also this expert insight, and we provide also this know-how on how to actually comply with NIS2 and also make it easier for you through these documentation wizards. Okay, question that came through LinkedIn. Do you also offer a toolkit for DORA? We're actually working on it now. It's, I would say, DORA is much more complex regulation than it is NIS2, and it takes much more time to actually create something like this. So yeah, we're working on DORA toolkit, and this is something that we'll definitely publish in the next 1 month. And it will be pretty, I mean, much bigger toolkit than you see here for NIS2. By the way, I'll ask my colleague to send you a link for an article which explains what documents are mandatory for DORA, not for NIS2, but for DORA. So you can actually see this. You can see this the article and actually see, you know, how far does DORA go with regards to this with these requirements. And my colleague will also send you now the link to an article which explains what are the mandatory documents for NIS2, right? So, and then you can actually compare these two articles and see that NIS2 is not as demanding as DORA when it comes to documentation. Okay, now let me go through this. Okay, yeah, you can see now this this article for required documents for NIS2. Good. Now the next, actually, this slide displays what is really included in this toolkit. So basically, it's when you purchase the toolkit, you actually get 1+1 package. First of all, you get this NIS documentation toolkit in English. Okay, the one that I'm showing you. And you also get this local cybersecurity toolkit in local language. So once we complete, let's say, Italian version of this local cybersecurity toolkit, it will cover the Italian, it will be adapted for Italian cybersecurity law, which was published based on NIS2, and it will be in Italian language, okay? And we will do this for each and every country in Europe. So we will have, in effect, we will have 27 various different local cybersecurity toolkit, which will be based on, again, on local laws and regulations in European countries. So, for example, for Croatia, which is, by the way, first or second country that published the local NIS2 Cybersecurity Act. We are now adapting the toolkit for this Croatian Cybersecurity Act. And then Croatia will also publish its own local regulation, which will clarify even further what these companies, NIS2 compliant companies, have to comply with. So basically, the Croatia itself has published this act, and then in addition also this regulation, and we will adapt the local cybersecurity toolkit, Croatian toolkit, for both of these acts and for this regulation. And we will do this again for each and every country in Europe. Okay, good. Yeah, by the way, I see that the question is when will we publish DORA toolkit. So yeah, DORA toolkit will be published in about 1 month, and these local cybersecurity toolkits, we typically will publish them within 3 months of publishing of a local regulation. So if a local regulation is published, I don't know, in let's say in January, then until April we will publish also adapt our documentation so that you can actually comply in time. And by the way, most of these regulations specify the compliance time of, let's say, around a year, so that there will be enough time to really comply with any of these. Okay, so this toolkit, 1+1 toolkit, so English plus this local toolkit, altogether cost 2,000 euros. And we'll send you now the link to where you can actually see all the details about this toolkit. And what is also new is that you can actually sign up for a free trial. So when you open this link, you will be able to see a local version you will be able to click this button, free trial, and then you will be able to actually go into this toolkit and test these wizards, how they work, and you will also be able to download the demo version of these documents. So it's not full toolkit, since this is a free trial, of course, but you will be able to, familiarize yourself with this, how the toolkit works and what you can actually expect from it. Okay, very well. Now let me go further. So what are basically the targeted companies? So it's the toolkit is written in such a way that it's that is fit for not only for medium and large organizations which have to comply, but also some smaller organizations that also have to comply with NIS2. So it's, I would say, universal for, I would say, any company size, and also for any of these sectors. So again, they're written in such a way that you can always insert your specific company processes within these templates, that you can actually add your own documentation, that you can also add your own technology. So it's very easy to adapt these documents for any, let's say, size of the company, but also any industry. When it comes to this local cybersecurity toolkit, as I mentioned, it will be for all 27 EU countries and in their local languages, and deliver within 90 days of local legislation. So basically this is something that will be here. Okay, let me see if there is any... Okay, no questions coming in. Okay, very well. Good. Now let me then move on with these biggest challenges. So I received actually quite many of your emails, letting me know what are the challenges with NIS2 documentation, and I try to kind of summarize the most, let's say, common ones here, and then I'll give you some let's say, ideas. I'll give you some let's say, suggestions on how to tackle these challenges. So the first one is when expert recommends changes, there is a resistance until an external auditor validates the need for compliance. Now this is a very, very interesting challenge, and I assume that these experts could be, I don't know, consultants or I don't know, someone else, and that there is this resistance within the company to implement these changes because companies are not, the personnel within companies are not sure if this is really needed and if this really needs to be done. Okay, there might be several reasons why this is happening, but I would say focus on one particular, let's say, reason or problem why this might be happening, And this is that very often these policies and procedures are seen as a burden, as something that will make the job of people working in these companies only much harder. And I assume this is one of the reasons why people are actually rejecting it, and they're doing this only when let's say an auditor says that they have to do it, right? Now the way to avoid this problem, basically there are a couple of techniques that you can actually try to avoid this problem and overcome this problem. And this is first of all, once you start introducing this document, explain them that you are not doing this, that the company shouldn't be doing these documents only because of compliance with NIS2 or with some other standards, but that actually these kind of documents can help them realistically actually operate in an easier way, right? Because if, for example, the backup process is not documented very well, then there might be too many, let's say, unknowns within the company on how this backup needs to be done. But once this is written down and I would say optimized and adapted for this company, then the company actually will find it easier to operate if everyone knows exactly what the processes are and how they need to be performed. Second thing that can be done is that you actually ask for opinion from your colleagues on how these documents need to look like. So if you simply publish, I don't know, a new backup policy and expect that everyone will be happy, because you published it, it's not going to be so, right? So it's much easier, it's much better if you actually ask for opinion, ask your colleagues for opinion on how they actually think this document should be improved, because this way you will get a better document, but you'll also get their commitment for this document. And the third thing is really to go for training and awareness, to really train these people on how to do it, because if you're introducing, I don't know, some completely new process for backup, of course there will be resistance to it if they don't know, especially if they don't know how this needs to be done. So training and awareness is also a crucial part. So I would say that by using these three techniques, you will be able to reduce this, I would say, resistance to these kind of changes. Okay, another challenge when writing the documentation is where to start from. Now, basically you can follow the steps in the toolkit as I've shown you. But actually there is one step that you could do before, and this is really to perform a gap analysis. Because if you perform gap analysis against NIS2, then you will know exactly what is missing, and it will actually help you out, clarify out of these 16 steps that are suggested in the toolkit, you will actually see what of these 16 steps you actually have and what you still need to do. And we'll share now with you this gap analysis tool, NIS2 gap analysis tool. And you will actually, it's a free tool. You can simply open this page and you will be able actually to go through it and analyze your company and see exactly for yourself, how far are you from being fully compliant. Okay, now biggest challenge is also ensuring full compliance, particularly regarding suppliers. Managing third-party risk is complex. Yeah, exactly. So third-party risk is complex because you are not controlling it fully, right? These are separate legal entities with separate management, separate rules, and it's very hard to know what is exactly happening. You don't know what actually their suppliers are doing, right? So so what is happening actually down the supply chain? So yes, this is complex, and actually NIS2. If you remember this Article 21 that I was showing you from NIS2, the only thing that where it is more specific, it's actually around supply chain management. It provides a little bit more text on how to, what are the requirements when it comes to supply chain management. Anyway, to try to summarize this supply chain management in a couple of words. First of all, you have to perform risk assessment of your suppliers. You have to find out, what could go wrong. And then based on the level of risk, you actually have to introduce monitoring of what these suppliers are doing. And you also have to introduce very strict security clauses in their agreements, right? So you have to enforce security rules for these suppliers so that you actually are able to let's say, increase the level of security of them as companies, and therefore the services that they're providing to you. And then of course you have to check out if these security clauses are complied with. So it's a very shortened version of basically how you have to manage third-party risk. Okay, maintaining and updating the NIS2 documents have a single source of, let's say, truth and the version control. But basically there are many of these document management systems that can help you with this. Starting from, I don't know, Microsoft SharePoint to many other systems which are very good for doing this. If you want to do it very simple, I mean, you can use Google Docs or something like this. But again, I don't really see this as a big issue, especially if your company already has some kind of document management system. The lack of methodological materials on implementation of NIS2. Yes, I mean, this is true. When you, I don't know, think about or try to find out some materials on 27001, it's, very easy to find them. There are thousands and thousands of articles on 27001, but on NIS2, there is not many. But you can actually use the articles. We published roughly 10 articles on NIS2, and actually we'll send you now this link. It's called Where to Start with NIS2, and it's actually a kind of a homepage for NIS2 on Advisera website, and there you will see the links to all the articles we published, and also the articles the links to, let's say, full text of NIS2, these kind of things. So you will see now the link in the chat window. Okay, very well. Good. Now let me go further. Yeah, okay, so these were the challenges. So let me go now to the conclusion. So, this kind of toolkit is, made to, I would say, substantially reduce the implementation time for NIS2, and also to avoid potential problem with non-conformity, so that you are not actually forgetting something that would be important. And as I mentioned, you can also sign up for a free trial of this toolkit, and you can access all these document wizards and demo versions of documents. And we'll send you now again this link to this toolkit, so that you can simply open a free trial account and see for yourself how this works. Also we'll send you now the link to schedule a call with our toolkit expert. So if you want to discuss with someone in more detail, how these documents look like, if you want someone to actually show you any documents, in a short demo, you can then use this meeting link and schedule a call with our toolkit expert. Okay, great. Let me move forward. Yeah, so basically it's, let's go for the Q&A session. So I'll start answering your remaining questions now, and feel free, to ask anything that you're interested in. So simply send me a chat message, and I'll gladly answer you. While I'm waiting for you to send these questions, a couple of notes. First of all, feel free to send me reach out to me directly through my email. I'll send you now my email address, and you can see it. So my email address is dejan@advisera.com, and basically it's you can use this email address to contact me directly with any of your questions. You can also follow me on LinkedIn and on YouTube. On LinkedIn, I publish regularly, the most interesting articles I find on the internet around cybersecurity and compliance. So if you want to kind of stay in touch on what are the most important trends in cybersecurity compliance, you can follow me on LinkedIn. On YouTube, I posted a series of videos on NIS2. And around the steps in the implementation, documentation writing, all kinds of things related to NIS2. So if you want to let's say learn through videos, then you can actually see my LinkedIn profile. Sorry, my YouTube profile. Okay, and another thing is that my next webinar, next Wednesday, will be around defining the ISMS scope for ISO 27001. and it will explain, whether to go for the whole company for the scope or only a part of your company, how to deal with these, dependencies and interfaces that ISO 27001 mentions, all of these things. So you'll see now the link to these to the upcoming webinars, and you can actually sign up for these webinars. Let me just show you this. So you can actually sign up for the webinar on LinkedIn or YouTube, or if you actually are coming through this Zoom, if you're connected to this webinar through Zoom, you will also receive an email invitation from Advisera for this next webinar about definition of the scope. Okay, very well. Now let me go for your questions. Okay, there was one question that I received before the webinar. And question was from Maria, and the question was, presenting an ISO 27000 certificate, is it enough to show NIS2 compliance? I would say no, because again, NIS2 requires some other things that are not written in 27001, specifically around incidents, around crisis management, this kind of things. So ISO 27001 is certainly a very good base for NIS2, but it's not enough. You need to, let's say, add a little bit on top of this to be fully NIS2 compliant. Okay, let me see some other questions. Question from Lee. If we have 7 to 8 branches in Europe, all same company, do we just purchase one toolkit? Yes, so basically, so the toolkit covers one country, and I mean, so the price of 2,000 euros covers one country. So let's say that you're based in Germany, then this will be enough for all of your branches. Let's say that you have all the branches in Germany. If you have, let's say, branches scattered out throughout Europe, then you will have to buy this add-on. Let's say that you have, I don't know, a couple of other countries, so we charge 500 euros for each add-on for each separate country, so that you actually get this additional cybersecurity, local cybersecurity toolkit in local language. So the first one is 2000, includes one country, and then for each other additional country it's 500 euros extra. Halil is asking, can we purchase a single document from the toolkit instead of the whole document set? No. So currently we are enabling only the purchase of the whole toolkit. Good. Let me see if there is anything else. Halil is asking, will Advisera be covering EU CRA, so the Cyber Resilience Act, with training, certification, and toolkit in the future? So yes. By the way, Cyber Resilience Act was enacted, but it's still not published in the official Gazette of European Union. I actually checked out today; it's still not published. It will be published in a couple of days. It will come in full effect, I think, in 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure. I didn't actually read the text fully. But yes, we'll certainly publish the trainings and toolkits during 2025 for this CRA. Olivia is asking, if we use the toolkit as a consultant, low limit on the number of customers and number of consultants inside the same consulting team. We have a special version of toolkit for consultants where we actually specify the number of licenses for different companies. Because especially if you use this document wizard, then you can't, simply pull the same data for each and every of your clients. In that case, you actually get separate user interfaces for each of your clients, right? That you actually separate the job titles, the logos and so on. So this is something that also is so in any case, for consultants we have a separate pricing where we actually enable a couple of licenses, for their needs for their clients. Okay, good. I think basically these are all the questions, so I don't see any other questions coming in. So let me then wrap up, and we are actually right on time. So this is a good timing. Okay, just a few words before we finish. As I mentioned, this 1-hour webinar was intended to give an overview of the toolkit and not really to go into details of implementing of particular documents. But again, you can sign up for a free trial, see for yourself how this works. And as I mentioned, we'll publish the PDF presentation deck together with the links from today's webinar in a clickable format on the same page where you're watching the webinar. And this actually goes for LinkedIn, so for those who connected through LinkedIn and YouTube. So simply stay on the same page where you are now, and in the comment section you will again see all these links summarized so that you can actually go through them. And this is particularly useful for LinkedIn users because they will see these links after the webinar ends. They will see them in clickable format. And you will also see this PDF presentation deck. And for Zoom users, we'll send now through the chat window the PDF presentation deck. You will see it in a couple of seconds. Okay, finally, you will see a short survey, a link to a short survey. So if you're connecting through Zoom, you will see our short survey right after you end the webinar. And for LinkedIn and for YouTube users, we will send you the link now, and you can actually see this now in the chat window. And I would be very happy if you actually have time to fill out this survey and just give us some feedback on how did you like the webinar. And this would be all. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Have a nice day.